Well, good evening, dear community, dear friends, dear Thich Nhat Hanh, dear ancestors. Welcome. It's so good to be in community, and Wake Up Toronto is in the house. So welcome, everyone. It's so happy to see a Sangha here together. So let's start with a very short grounding so we can turn it over to Larry. So get yourself as comfortable as you can. Seated, walking, lying, standing. And drop in. Invite you to put a hand on your heart, a hand on your belly. We'll say hello to that good heart. Checking in, tuning in, seeing how's your heart doing today. And I know mine's kind of tender. Maybe yours is too. If it feels good to keep your hands there, you can, or you can relax them as we continue to ground into this moment together. Dropping into less words. Inviting our bodies to relax. Tuning into the miracle of your body in this moment. And we're just going to invite in a Thich Nhat Hanh mantra. I have arrived. I am home. Invite you to say that to yourself, either silently or out loud. You're muted. I've arrived. I am home. And tuning into the land beneath your feet or beneath your bum. Those of us in the Northern Hemisphere are moving into, well, are in fall. Southern Hemisphere experiencing spring. Just notice the earth beneath your feet, wherever you are. Aware of the texture and color of the earth beneath you. The land that you're on, that in our case was mostly Cherokee and Choctaw. And thanks. Just letting your body relax even more. Nothing to do, no place to go. In this time of year, the veil between the two worlds is thin, so our ancestors are very close. Our ancestors of this land, our ancestors of blood, and our ancestors of spirit. So we invite them to be mighty close as we sit in circle together. As we thank our ancestors for their protection, their love and support, to support us in praying for the world, for all beings, big or small, tall or short, born or yet to be born. Lighting up the incense of our hearts in gratitude. Breathing in any goodness, anchor it to the hard drive of your body and letting go. Fear, anxiety, worry, sadness. I have arrived. I am home. Before we complete our short sit, just make sure you soak in any energy of goodness, saving it to the hard drive. If you're experiencing overwhelm, put more emphasis on the out breath with a longer breath. And a sigh can help too. And Matt, if you can invite 2 bells, please.
Greetings, beloved ones. A poem for you. To cross the great water of perception is the great adventure of our epoch. To be fully present in this world of disturbance and light, and yet go beyond without leaving behind the suffering tearing at our hearts and minds. Step out of the constructs created by others that define you and I as less than, as more than, or as the same as. Define yourself, shape yourself, invent yourself again and again. I must admit, I'm only a temporary arrangement in the flow of no coming and no going. I have been hurt, but no permanent damage. I smile, nothing to cling to, yet everything to give. We have been underestimated. You can feel it in your heart, and at moments you can see it in your mind's eye. So deep is the love hidden in us that even when passing through life and death, we can remain unafraid. The power of our care, our vow, is like a mountain, solid. In this journey, we discover the sweetness in our own hearts. Across the great water, I smile. There's a statue right across the street from our house, and when we first drove up the street and started to move in, I thought, well, there's just another statue of a white dude. So I didn't pay much attention to it, but my curiosity always wins, no matter what. And so I took a look at it, and I look at it every day now as a part of my meditation. It's a statue of Washington Irving, author of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle. And it's Rip I wanted to bring your attention to, who I guess had a party and got a little overdone at the party, fell asleep for 20 years. And he slept through the American Revolution. I try to do what I do so we know we don't have to sleep through this revolution. Modernity has been a deep sleep about the true reality of things, the true reality of the earth, and the true reality of each other. We have been hypnotized by our own inventions of constructs and machines. A latest report on the environment says that as the world grapples with multiple ecological crises, it is clear that over the last 50 years, all of our responses have failed. Our new research argues that the priority now should be addressing the real driver of these crises, our own maladaptive behaviors. I've been, one of the things I do every morning after meditation, et cetera, is I study, I listen to other teachers from other traditions and cultures around the world. And maybe it's because the movie Killers of the Flower Moon is coming out which happened near where I live. I've been paying more attention to the teachings of the indigenous Americans. And I was listening to several Lakota teachers and other traditions, And one of the things that struck me in their languages, which they were describing, is they have no nouns. Everything is a process. No nouns. I thought, how would the world change if we had no nouns, if we had no things? What is happening in our world today can lead us to the mind of collapse. I like to say that we're in the dark night of a transition. And this transition, yes, it's external with the upheavals. Suppression will rise. This is part of what we're witnessing in the world today. We're also witnessing in the world today that the paradigm of dominance doesn't work. And control and this seemingly weird idea that our political system is to be our parent. It seems that way, the way I listen to people and I see behaviors, and it's like, oh wow, I'm glad I didn't grow up in your family. We have to step up to another level of our own capacity to be human. We've not given enough attention to our own humanity. You know, we as human beings, we have this notion that there's a savior coming for us, a Messiah, to use old language from Christianity. A Messiah, someone who will rescue us, someone who will save us. It may be an ideology, it may be a person, it may be a conflict. But there's no one coming for us. There's no thing coming for us. None of our ideologies that we have inherited, that many people entrust their lives to, are not working. There's a great quote from the Buddha. Someone was asking him, translated into English, well, you've been preaching about wellness, and you say you're well, and you say I can be well. And the Buddha simply said, if it wasn't so, I wouldn't have told you. That's why practice is so important, so that we can constantly discover and rediscover our own sense of well-being. Because without it, we don't have a way of manifesting that well-being into the world in which we live. We're in a spiritual revolution, an inner revolution. The new world already lives inside of many of us. And that's part of the reason what's happening in the world right now is causing you so much pain. You already know this is not necessary any longer to live this way, behave this way, respond this way, invest money this way, use lives this way. We already know this. Part of what's unique about this moment is that we are a generation that has to repair the past, even though many of us want to pretend there is no past to repair, because repairing the past is repairing the present. The past is not a category. It's a living stream of energy. And the other paradox we're in is we're at the same time have to repair the future. I think of no other period in history when we consciously have to do both, repair the past and repair the future at the same time. And in order to do that without being completely overwhelmed, we have to repair ourselves. We have to create a larger container so that we can hold the complexity, the information, the confusion without being overwhelmed. To hold the uncertainty in equanimity, not in fear. Many people describe what they see happening right now as the new earth is emerging. The earth is also changing. It's not just we humans. The earth itself is changing. And just can't, it's just astounding how many people can't recognize that fact. Earth systems are changing, of water, of air, of tree, of grass, not to mention all the species that have already become extinct or are becoming extinct in the wake of modernity. I know that many people think technology will save us, the Messiah idea. I do not think technology will save us. We have to save technology. We have to make sure it is created with the right intent and used in the most helpful way for our wellness, for our justice, and for our sense of beloved community. And if we are not careful, because the speed at which technology changes, look at how fast technology changes and look at how fast our political system changes. We're not in any competition with technology as humans. We're being directed, we're being drugged around, we're being misused and abused. All, yes, there's also information and access and great aspects of it. But look deeper. So we need to figure out, look at our college campuses and how the curriculums of humanities have shrunk over the last 25 years. In high schools, in elementary schools. Let's cut art, let's cut music, let's cut anything that can't help us count money. And the end of that paradigm is what we're seeing right now. The collapse of it, the unsustainability of it. But in my view, while there's a lot of pessimism in the world, a lot of doubt, a lot of uncertainty, which is real, a real lived experience, the new world for me is inside of each of us. And it has to be inside of each of us before it can manifest outside of us. It's not the other way around. In fact, it's always been that way. The consciousness of humanity is the birthplace of its sociality. How it understands what it means to be together, to be separate, to be well, to be just, and to be in harmony. I was thinking of an old poem of D.H. Lawrence. I have a note of it here somewhere. Oh, I'll just read part of it at the end. What is the knocking? What is the knocking at the door in the night? Is somebody want to do us harm? No, no. It is the three strange angels. Admit them. Admit them. And of course, there's more than three. As I look at, turn your attention to what is emerging, not what is collapsing. I scan the news around the world daily, and we are fixated on what is collapsing. And I know it's disappointing to see our institutions dysfunctional and ineffectual, and in some cases corrupt. It's very disappointing. It's disheartening. It's frightful to know we live in a world like that, where just a few people can make a decision and cause thousands of deaths. The new world is a state of consciousness in us. We must nurture it. We must cultivate it by the quality of our practice. Our silence matters. What energies we attend to in our own story, in our own mind and hearts, what we give our energy to. Some people have been I've been chatting with them about the fact that nothing is local anymore. Any event anywhere in the world becomes a global event. This is a clue to how we are connected. It's inescapable now. That's part of the new consciousness. It's part of the new consciousness to see people on the streets of Japan marching for George Floyd. It's part of the new consciousness to see people in other parts of the world changing their hair to support the women in Iran. That's the new consciousness of the world. We all know injustice now when we see it. And we know it's not necessary. It's a great phrase I've learned from our dear friend and staff member, Mona. She said about something somewhere she experienced, this person is making things unnecessarily difficult. The modern world has made it unnecessarily difficult for everyone to be fed. The modern world has made it difficult, unnecessarily difficult for everyone to have a place to live and to have food security and to have education and health care. I won't go through the statistics you've seen of how much wealth billionaires have compared to like 90% of the rest of the population. It's if you don't think we're in a trance and we think this is normal. This is not normal. This is insane. So if you think this is normal, what's normal is insanity. And I remind you of the quote from Einstein, you cannot change a situation from the same level of energy that created it. And so all of our efforts to fix things will fail because they are not fixable. We're looking at it from the wrong view. We keep trying old solutions for horse and buggy solutions for shuttle problems. And we have to get real. Some people were talking with me, mentioning about neutrality, with what's going on in the world. Are you for this? Are you for that? Are you for them or for the other them? And my conclusion is this is a time of choice. This is a time of conviction. Neutrality often is interpreted as indifference. People say, oh, that country was neutral during the war. There was nobody neutral during World War II. Really, in the Western world anyway. And we give that a pass. It's like it's okay for people just to be bombing and killing each other. That's the normal part of daily life. the violence on our streets, the guns collected in schools from children as young as 5 years old every day. This is a problem. And we have to choose not to want to live that way, or we will continue to live that way. We have to make a choice. And I know that can be difficult, challenging, but don't be afraid, because all this upheaval is the new world birthing itself, the new consciousness trying to manifest itself. And that manifestation will result in a new social imagination. Our social imagination from the past, it's a great book on it. You can look it up. It's called Social Imagination. Society was divided. There were two aspects of society: public issues and private troubles. And those lines didn't always cross. They never hardly crossed. So what's happened in our world today, we know that dichotomy doesn't exist. We know that I lost a job at my Ford plant in Toledo, Ohio, because of an arrangement that was made with another country about manufacturing. I know it wasn't because I didn't work hard. I have a different consciousness of the economy of the world. This is part of the new reality we are in. We do not need to be afraid of it. We need to choose to take charge of it. And somebody will say to you, oh, well, you're not expert enough. You're not educated enough. And that's true in some areas of technicality. But my greatest concern is the quality of the mind and heart that uses that technicality. There's a difference in what we sense when we're around one another. Our empathy has grown like never before as a species. Our willingness to train ourselves to be compassionate has grown. Our emphasis on whole system, whole body wellness has grown. Our willingness to stand up for justice has grown, and our desire for beloved community has grown. And that means no one is left behind. That means the children that we've tossed into the river of forgetfulness will not be left behind. We're going through a purging right now, this upheaval we're experiencing. And what's being purged is what's being brought to the surface to be seen, to be looked at, and to be healed from the lessons we can learn from that suffering. This is not the first, there's 200 wars probably going on in the world today that have been reported on, and probably likely more at different scales between different peoples. But and somebody's making an awful lot of money from that. You got to know that. You have to know that. And so, but as our mind changes, I had a chance at a retreat once to meet a guerrilla fighter from East Africa, well, West Africa. And he was the head of a group. And he had just taken the 5 mindfulness trainings at an event in Africa when he decided that wasn't working. That being a guerrilla warfare strategist, activist, didn't work. It wasn't sustainable. What is sustainable is a new consciousness of how to be together if we are all willing to do our very best in making it so. Follow what's emerging. Watch the young people who have a very different set of issues than most baby boomers. It's one of the great pleasures we had in working with school systems, with K through 12 systems around the world. And you realize when you start to teach these children, you have to get up to date on what their language is. Because your language and your stories are from a different time. I was talking with the Uber driver just the other day, and we were sharing how we know musically you're getting old. And how you know is you don't understand the new music. And it's like, what? What's that? And that's true in every generation. But the difference of music today is it is global. It is globally interactive, globally learned, new tunes, new rhythms, I listened to a jazz club in Tokyo last night with this young woman who was a jazz singer in her van. It's like, what? She was so good, I couldn't believe this. Stunning. And she was asked where she learned that. She said she learned that from Southern gospel traditions and jazz in the US. We have been learning from each other. Our institutions have only been learning from an economic point of view about each other, but we have been learning about our humanness. And now is the time to claim it as our sovereignty. Claim it as our blessing, not as our fault, not as our failure. This dark night of this transition is simply we're in between what's collapsing and what's emerging. It's like being in the trapeze in the middle of the air. And to practice in ways that we can survive and thrive in this journey of uncertainty. But uncertainty does not mean you should not be certain what your convictions are, what you care about, what your priorities are. The dark night of this transition is because it's raised up so much suffering that we have not contended with fully. It almost puts out the light of what's emerging. The pain of what we see and what we hear around the world and around the planet almost dims the brightness of what is emerging. But what is emerging is a community of earthlings that understands the wisdom of wellness of the body and wellness of the mind. Both new understandings of that and old understandings of that are cherished. It is a mind that understands justice is not predetermined. It is lived. It is not contrived. It is not how clever you are. It is about authenticity in speaking the truth and being honest with no attachment to the outcome. And beloved community, the experience of being safe with others, the experience of being able to listen deeply for others and hear yourself, hear your own heart, the experience of laughter and joy and insight from one another, co-learning in every gathering. I'm looking for that. And the more of that we can find on our planet and encourage where we live, in our family, in our neighborhood, in our city or town, the greater chance we have of thriving, not just surviving in this moment. Don't be pessimistic because the world's falling apart. The world as you know it is falling apart. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and in the early days, there used to be people downtown that had signs and posters that said, the world's coming to an end. Get yourself saved. And one of them came up to me and really got in my face one day and said, the world's coming to an end. What do you think about that? And I says, well, I think it's coming to an end all the time. And so it is, we get attached to what we invented and we think it's some permanent edifice to our ego, to our accomplishment, to our cleverness, and we are clever and we are talented and but everything we build is compounded with ideas and stuff, and everything compounded is impermanent. We learned that in our personal lives. You know, if we could take what we're now consider the path of personal transformation, which is actually the function of religious life when it's done correctly, and apply those same principles to our society, it would revolutionize our society. And what are our personal principles of personal transformation? Learning how to be well, learning how to relax, learning how to rewire our brains, our physical health, our mental health as a priority, learning how to be in silence, learning how to meditate, learning how to stop and rest. But we live in a society in which those principles are not present. Justice. We see justice from afar. We sit on a big screen. It's like it's a movie. It's some kind of a soap opera. It's really entertainment. But justice is not justice unless injustice breaks your heart. Breaks open your mind from fixed ideas and elevates the experience of being human in community rather than depressing it. That's when you know you've experienced justice. And beloved community, our birthright. But we've been taught there's no such thing. We've been taught we're all in competition, that we're all aggressive beasts waiting to prey on one another. If this was really true, none of us would be here. that conditioning we have to elevate our aggression as success. And we can see where that has gotten us to be. So I know there are questions about who am I, who are we, what do I do, what do we do at this moment? I want to focus on the question of how do I be? How do we be in this world? And my language for what I'm learning how to be in this world is an earthly. It means I'm surrendering my sense of superiority over the squirrel, over the spider, over all the other creatures that are around me day and night. I'm an earthling. I'm happy to be an earthling. I know I'm a temporary earthling. And that's my glory. That's my preciousness. And that is yours too. That is yours too. So the spiritual revolution we're in is to cultivate the imagination and the practice of emergence. What's emerging? What's being born? We're called to be midwives, not handymen. Let me say it that way. We're called to help something be born. We're not simply called to fix a window. And our institutions everywhere in the world only have been trained on how to fix a window, which takes, I don't know how many meetings to get that done. And the world is moving at a fast pace, so fast, we're always behind now. We wake up behind. We don't know what will break out tomorrow, but we know it will spread fast, and we will try to catch up, like COVID. It's not just COVID that can happen that way. Violence can happen that way. Fear can happen that way. And so find a place to practice where you can nourish the part of you that can see, not just look. The part of you that can see what is emerging. Look through things. See the patterns underneath things. Pay attention around the world to see how many people are practicing being well, learning how to be well, willing to teach about being well. Look around the world and see where justice is rising and suppression is collapsing. Also look around the world and see where there is joy, there is dance, there is song, there's beauty in people gathering either in families or in small groups and or communities without harm. So give your attention to those things so it will nourish in you. I guess I would have to use the word faith, but I mean the faith that comes from practice. I have faith in the Bodhisattva vow because I have discovered it in myself, and I have discovered it in you. And so now's the time to come out of hiding. And it doesn't matter which one of us or how we do it, but together I thought one day in Kyoto when I was there, what the world needed was one day where we just all cried. So much grief is in our bones. And we want to do things, we want to improve things, but we are stuck at the shore. And it's difficult to cross the great water within when we are frozen inside or numb inside, or when we are constantly agitated and aggressive and angry inside, or when we have gone into trance, surrendered our critical intelligence to the fads of the moment. Things will collapse. That's the nature of the world. It's not a problem. The problem is spending all of our time fretting over the collapse and not giving enough life-giving force to the new life that's emerging. And that new life is emerging a little bit everywhere. Don't miss it. Thank you.
I'd like to take a few moments just to settle, and we're going to extend some light. If you can stay just for a few minutes. I know I had a lot of phone calls today with people wanting prayers. So let's settle in with our heart and again, check in. How's our heart? We're going to begin sending loving kindness and compassion to our own good heart in true Brahma Vihara practice. Wishing ourselves safety. Really settle into that. Let it feel that safety. What is that? My physical well-being. May I be peaceful. And I find that island of peace, cave of the heart. May I be at ease. We're going to do very simple practice with now extending it to each other. May we be safe. Feel that as light, sparkling, effervescent energy from the front and back side of our heart to each other. Our well wishes and prayers for health, physical well-being. Be free from accidents. May we know peace in our own hearts and minds. May we slip into ease. Imagine the Bodhisattva royal ease. She has a kimbo position. Very relaxed. Now we're going to send it out in all directions. May we all be safe. Knowing full well that everybody isn't right now, we extend our light and our care and our love and our tenderness for safety. Health and physical well-being. Peace. Experience the energy of peace as a lively force. It's a vibration that those of us that know Thich Nhat Hanh have felt. It carries a lot of this energy, and it's in us. May we be at ease. Seeing the light of loving kindness in all directions, and our ancestors are supporting us. All directions. And we're going to pull it back a little closer to some of our loved ones that we know are struggling or suffering right now. Imagine them in this circle. We're radiating the same light. Good. Thanking whoever supported our practice today, thanking our ancestors, land and spirit and blood, and our teachers. Letting them go, they can go at this point, and just coming back to your place where you're seated. Feeling that heartbeat. Feeling that heartbeat through your hand. Connecting with other heartbeats. And giving thanks. Letting that all go. And Matt, maybe a bell. I think you have an ad. May the merit of this practice benefit all beings and bring peace.